I would think, yes, an insanity defense would be expected in this case, although it's very difficult. But so there are big developments today, both civilly when people are doing the suing, and then in the criminal case where this is obviously against 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley. Now, we see the defense, and this is, I'm holding up right here, it's a notice of insanity defense. It's just basically a notice, giving notice to the prosecutor that the defense intends to show that Ethan Crumbley was mentally ill at the time of the incident, meaning that he suffers from a serious mental illness when he shot those victims, and that he just did not know right from wrong. However, proving an insanity defense is very difficult. Take a look.
There's an inclination for jurors to not want to go with the insanity defense.
Hard as it may be, this may be one of the only defenses for 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley, accused in the November 30th shooting at Oxford High School. Why?
People want people to be accountable, especially with something with so much media, so much harm, and so many, so much carnage.
Because of the insanity defense, the court will order Crumbley to be evaluated by the Center for Forensic Psychiatry. Often, defense attorneys say the Forensic Center, as it's known, sides with the prosecution. But then it would be up to the defense attorney to get its own expert on the issue of insanity.
But at the end of the day, it's a competing issue with the experts in this case.
The defense attorney has to prove that the defendant suffers from a mental illness.
Dr. Gerald Shiner has been hired by defense attorneys suing the Oxford school in the civil case, but has been an expert in many criminal insanity cases.
And under the law, the term mental illness means a substantial disorder of thought or mood. So that would be certain diagnoses: severe major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, or some sort of psychosis.
And that it interferes with knowing what's right and wrong. For example,
the other person is going to destroy the world, and they're Satan, and everyone is going to go to hell, so they have to be stopped. What they do isn't wrong.
But that sounds like it's almost an impossible burden, though, doesn't it?
It's a high threshold.
It is a very high threshold, very difficult, although I guess it can happen. But in order to get the ball rolling, this piece of paper must be filed, and that's what was filed today. Now, only two verdicts for the jury. Could be not guilty by reason of mental illness, or, not guilty by insanity, or guilty, guilty but mentally ill. Okay, two verdicts. And the big deal with these verdicts, though, if it's not guilty because of insanity, Ethan will get medical treatment and then he'll go free. If the jury comes back guilty but mentally ill, then he'll get treatment but in prison, and then he'll go back to prison for life. Ultimately, a jury will decide. Taryn Roop?
Well, Charlie, when you take a look at precedents and cases in the past, what have you seen relative to massacres of this magnitude and people pleading insanity?
They plead and the jury says no way. That's a problem because of what Todd Perkins, the attorney, said. There's so much evidence in this case, and we understand that there's video evidence. And it's very difficult for a jury to see all these problems and then say not guilty because of insanity. It's just a very difficult concept. And so I don't think it's going to happen in this case.
Yeah, I know. We've read less than 1%, that these insanity cases actually happen. But Charlie, what about his age? 15 years old. You could get a sympathetic jury. And his age, couldn't that play a role?
Yes, I think it could play a role. I think it could. I really also think that we shouldn't overlook the possibility that there could be a plea in this case. Now, he'd have to plead maybe guilty but mentally ill so he could get some treatment. I don't think the prosecutor would give him a lesser sentence in this case, or a lesser charge, but we could see a plea in this case, and that could happen. And so what we need is some evidence. Here's the deal. Let's get him evaluated, because everybody wants to know how mentally ill was he, if at all, because then we have a better basis for either forming a plea or maybe to really truly go ahead with this kind of defense.
A lot of work to do. All right, Charlie, thank you for your insight.